Masechet Batra Daf, Sadi Amud Aleph, 4 lines down. We're still in the discussions. In scenarios where you have to refund somebody, you have to refund the entire thing or just the amount that is causing the issue. Rav Huna would say yes, the entire thing. Let's continue. Tashma, let's bring a proof. Ha'una'a, regarding price fraud, price gouging, for example. If you overcharge them less than a sixth of the price, good sale, no refund. If it's more than a sixth, it's considered price gouging and must refund everything. The sixth itself, however, it's a good sale, but you have to return the amount. So we see, Amai, in the case of over a six, why do you have to return it? Maybe you should just return until it becomes a six or less than a six, and that's it. We see from here, we see from there, whenever you have to provide a refund, you have to provide everything back. Like Rav Huna says, like a type of penalization. You can't compare in the case of overcharging. The guy told him the value and how much you're being paid. And therefore, he didn't really expect to be overpaying. Overcharge of less than a sixth, people don't really realize or care. Therefore, give it. Sixth itself, it is there. That person doesn't forgive it, therefore you have to repay him back that. Yeah, tell me, if it's more than a sixth, you saft him. Make a ta'awut to consider a bad sale, but and the sale is is canceled. It's not that you have to refund them because of kanas, this is the canceled sale. Not like Rav Huna says, who holds that even in different type of scenarios, it's automatic return. Bring a proof. Someone buys, someone is hired to plant someone else's field with trees. The owner is hiring him with understanding and said that every 100 trees this guy plants, 10 of them might be bad. You're telling me if it's more than 10 trees per 100, the contractor, the guy who was hired, has to replace all the trees, even if there's 10 or less afterwards. So if he has 11, he has to plant all 11 and not just to make it to 10. Seemingly, according to Rav Huna, holds that you have that when you are required to refund or replace, you have to replace all. Where it says, the reason why is because anytime there's more than 10 trees, it's as if you're taking a new taking like a new contract because it's a big field. 11 trees or more is a lot. And therefore he has to plant all of them. In the case of Rav Huna, however, in the case of, let's say, quarter kaf, like we mentioned earlier, that's different. That's like that's considered it's not as significant, and therefore you might be required to forgive it. Okay. In the case of wine, we said that the guy has to accept 10 barrels of bad wine out of every 100. Like what's the case? If the guy just says, I'm selling you a cellar of wine, kasha, it's a problem. If he says, I'm selling you this cellar of wine, kasha, also a problem. If he's just saying, I'm selling you this cellar, he doesn't say wine, kasha, also a problem. Why? If the guy says, I'm selling you a cellar of wine, he has to sell him all good, excellent wine. If I'm selling you this cellar of wine, he has to give him wine that the quality is good for stores, which is wine that's going to spoil soon. If I'm selling you this cellar without mentioning wine, I feel like even if it's old vinegar, I never told you it's wine, then it's a good sale. So we see from here that none of them hold this 10% gas that the Batra mentioned. The Mishnah mentioned 10% over here, doesn't say it at all. The Gemara says, really talking about a case where he said, I'm selling you wine. And the Braita's first halacha is meant to say as follows. And the guy does have to accept 10 barrels bad out of 100 total good, 90 good. 1 second. So you're saying that if the guy just said, I'm selling you wine, he has to accept anything? Someone sells a barrel of wine to his friend. He has to sell him wine, all good. No bad wine allowed. Or it says no. If you're selling him 1 barrel, it's all 1 barrel. I'm expecting good wine in the entire barrel. Regarding a cellar, then it is understandable if there's something that's bad. Another question. If the seller says, I'm selling you wine, to give him all good wine. This seller of wine, also superior wine. But he accepts himself 10% bad. This is the halacha of the seller in our Mishnah, seemingly saying, rather clearly saying, the Brisa says, that when the seller is saying, I'm selling you a seller of wine, automatically, he does not have to accept any wine. And only when he says this seller of wine, then he has to accept the bad wine. So what's going on? The Gemara says, okay, fine. Our Mishnah is also my case of this seller of wine, and because he said this, he has to accept the bad wine. The Gemara says, kasha zeh. But the Braita said this wine is different than what the Mishnah said of Rav Zvid's halacha of this wine. This first Braita says that if you say this wine, you're all good wine that's spoiling soon, shop wine. Rav Zvid said that no, 90-10. The case is the difference when the guy says I'm selling you wine for cooking or not. Cooking wine had to be very good quality because you use it very slowly. And since you use it very slowly, it has to last longer. According to Razvid, if the guy said it was for cooking, therefore I can't accept bad wine. Braita, the law for the case of the Braita, where he says he did not mention this for cooking, therefore you have to accept even wine that is spoiling soon. Hilkach, therefore the halacha is as follows. If the guy says I'm selling you wine and he says it's for cooking, I'm telling the lion has to give him all good wine. If I says I'm selling you this wine, when for cooking, it has to be all good wine. He has also to set himself 10 barrels per 100 that are bad. If I'm selling you this seller and I didn't mention that it's bad, it's for cooking, you can give him medium quality of shop wine that will spoil soon. The Gemara says, Ibai asked the question, a case that was not discerned from here. I'm selling you seller of wine, nothing about cooking. What's halacha? Do you have to accept bad wine or not? One say yes, one say no. According to that you do have to accept 10 bad barrels. If they he needs to do an inference from Razvid. The said, if the guy says, I'm selling you a seller of wine, has some all good wine. We have established that case, the Amar the Mikveh without someone else of cooking. Tamar the Mikveh, the reason why you have to accept all good wine is because they said cooking. Halom and Mikveh, but if you do not say cooking, Mikabel, you have to accept bad wine. Madam Mikveh, according to the opinion holds that this Braita would say this case would be no bad wine is accepted. Dayak mi Braita, you make a diuk from the Braita. The time the Braita said, the guy said, I'm selling you wine. Give him all good wine. We established that case, he did not mention cooking. So we see that the first case of the Braita is referring to a case where he does not accept anything. They each made a diuk on the opposite thing. Now the problem is, if you go about making a diuk from the opposite cases, now you have a stira. According to the opinion holder of Zvid. Kasha Braita. How does he explain the other Braita, which says that you do not have to accept? The you can establish the case where it's missing words. But Medrin wants to say that mikveh. That's the only time you have to say you're accepting all the good wine is when it was for cooking. Halom and mikveh, but if you not mention cooking, you accept 10 bad barrels. If you said this seller, the Lamar mikveh didn't mention cooking and 10 you give him shop store wine. Mandamar the Icon Breta, according to the opinion holds the Braita, Kasha Zid, how do you explain Razid Braita? But him the mikveh, because he established the case of cooking. Hello, sounds like not cooking. You would need to accept the bad wine, 10 barrels. Where it says, Who had in Dafagad law mikveh? No, really, halachas, both cases, he didn't mention cooking. Lo mikveh, you don't accept any bad wine. But had the king, so then why it's making one case cooking? Because mishum de kasha ze'azeh, because otherwise there'd be a stira, a contradiction between the second Braita, the second halacha of the first Braita in the case of this, and the case of when the guy said this seller, and the case of Razvid's this seller. Therefore, we have to establish that case of the cooking wine.